I'll help you. Put a period after the word Jesus and don't question my faith. Don't question my faith.
Oh, okay.
You guys can ask questions about all of these things and I will answer them. But don't question my faith.
That was Representative Dan Crenshaw from Texas. He was taking questions, and a young woman asked him about a podcast he was on where he had a very interesting take about Jesus. He was talking about heroes and archetypes and saying that Jesus was in the same category as Superman and that there were other heroic archetypes that included real people like Rosa Parks and Ronald Reagan, causing many people to think, well, if they're real, what does that make Jesus? Here's how that question sounded.
To give context to anyone who hasn't heard, Crenshaw said, quote, "The most important thing here is that we have important hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype, Superman is a hero archetype. Real characters too. I could name 1,000. Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan," end quote.
End
I can't
quote.
wrap my head around this.
She says, I can't wrap my head around this. Maybe you can help me. Now, he's going to go off here in a minute, but let's make sure we understand what she's talking about. Hopefully he remembered. It was a podcast, looked like this. He was on there with Jocko Willink. You can see Jocko Willink is everywhere. He wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom, and he is also a former Navy SEAL, which I think is also what Dan Crenshaw is. And so they're having a conversation. Dan Crenshaw has been hitting the media airwaves for a long time, doing his, sort of new Republican shtick. And he's on this podcast talking about his book. And they're talking about heroic archetypes. Let's hear how that sounded.
The important thing is that we have societal hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype. Superman is a hero archetype. Real characters too. We can name 1,000. Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan. All of these people embody certain attributes that the American people think this is good. Okay, and we generally agree on these things. I tell a whole story in the book about when I was at Disney World, or was it Disneyland? It was Disney World, and I was at the Star Wars land, and I was watching this really cool thing happen where they let these kids do Jedi training.
So Jesus is a heroic archetype, just like Superman, just like the Flash and Batman. Doesn't matter which one of them you pick, they're all the same, I guess, according to Dan Crenshaw. But there are also real heroic archetypes, like real people, like Ronald Reagan and Rosa Parks. So very interesting question, especially if you're somebody who calls yourself a Christian, especially if you're in Texas and you're meeting with other Christians. They might have a little bit of a qualm with that. Here's how Dan Crenshaw responds when this young woman calls him out. He says the following.
I can't wrap my head around this.
Well, I'll help you. Put a period after the word Jesus and don't question my faith.
Wow.
Okay,
You moron.
You moron. Now look at this waitress's face. She's also in agreement that guy kind of sounds like a moron. And he's not responding to her, right? She's quoting him. She's not questioning his faith. He's questioning his faith. Here's how that sounded one more time.
I can't wrap my head around this.
Well, I'll help you. Put a period after the word Jesus and don't question my faith.
It was your quote.
You moron.
So, you moron is right. And it was your quote. So why didn't you put a period after the end of it? Here's how it continues.
Yeah, you don't talk to a kid like that. Boo.
Don't question my faith.
Oh, okay.
You guys can ask questions about all of these things and I will answer them. But don't question my faith.
I can question your faith if this is what you said.
That's
what you said. Yeah, she's exactly right. I'm not questioning your faith. I'm asking you about your own statement. You put two people into different buckets. You said that Jesus was part of this fictional character bucket, like the Marvel's Avengers team, and everybody else is real. It's kind of not what Christians think. You say you're a Christian. We're not questioning your faith. We're just asking for a little clarification because it's kind of out of traditional orthodoxy to think that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is just like Magneto. So let's take a look now at how this continues. We have Crenshaw says, let me defend this now. Read your card again. I didn't say what you're saying I said. I never said that Jesus wasn't real. Here he goes back on his heels a little bit on the defensive.
I mean, you can read the card again. But nowhere in that quote am I saying Jesus is not real. That's a ridiculous statement.
Nowhere did I say that Jesus is not real. That's a ridiculous statement. I would never say anything like that, but he kind of did, didn't he?
The important thing is that we have societal hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype. Superman is a hero archetype. Real characters too. You know, we could name 1,000. You know, Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan. All of these people embody certain attributes that the American people think this is good. Okay, and we generally agree on these things. I tell a whole story in the book about when I was at Disney World, or was it Disneyland? That was Disney World, and I was at the Star Wars land, and I was watching this really cool thing happen where they let these kids do Jedi training.
Yeah, so really good analogy there to be talking about Jesus being real, but also analogizing it to Jedi mind tricks in Star Wars land. So, okay, so here he continues on. Now he's going to kind of make sure he's appeasing the crowd. They're going to be asking him very pointed questions. Is Jesus the Son of God? What do you say there, Dan?
Of course he's the Son of God. Of course he's the Son of God, and of course he's real.
You can say two different things. You can say that on a podcast, and you can say this here.
On the podcast, nobody would have understood it that way. I think you're twisting it that way, which is not very Christian.
Let's go.
Ooh!
Let's go, Brandon.
It's not. And I'm not going to have my faith questioned.
Ooh!
I'm not going to have my faith questioned.
Great question. Cheers to that young lady. Cheers to that young lady for asking a very good question. And he says that he's now sort of defending it now. He swapped his position. Well, if I would have said it differently, nobody would have understood it. And she said, you said one thing on a podcast, you're saying a different thing here. Seems kind of slimy. And he says, well, if I would have done it differently, it wouldn't have carried over the message on the podcast. And so I have to be a little bit more clear. Two different sides of the same man, isn't it? Dan Crenshaw, been pretty consistent, says, let's get some truth on the record. He posted this just about a year ago in 2021. Says, Liz Cheney has a hell of a lot more backbone than most. She's a principal leader with a fierce intellect. She will continue to be a much needed leader in the conference with my full support, which is just hysterical, given that we fast forward now and we can see exactly what Liz Cheney has produced. Says, we can disagree without tearing each other apart. Meanwhile, Liz Cheney is, I think, the pseudo leader of the only active political inquisition that's going on in the country at the moment. So he's just sort of showing his true colors, I think. Here is somebody else asking him specifically about what he wants to do to help some of those J6ers. Liz Cheney, of course, is on the J6 Select Committee, the person really behind a lot of the political inquisition that is happening right now. Somebody asks him about this. Hey, you know, there's a lot of people there who are facing due process violations and suffering in solitary confinement. Would you like to share with your constituents how you helped, Dan?
My question is on the January 6th. What have you done to help any of these people that are being held without any due process? There is no due process. They're political prisoners. Representative Crenshaw, what have you personally done to help get them out?
Look, I agree with you. You can't, and this is a problem throughout the country. You cannot hold somebody without due process and without a swift trial. You just can't.
Not talking about the rest of the country.
They are doing it. And look, what power do we have? I wish I could tell you something. That there's a bill we could pass that we had the majorities. I wish there was.
Have you done anything to help? Is my question.
Sent a letter, Dan?
Look. Like I said, I mean, what?
You're a congressman that represents the state of Texas. Is there anything else you can do? I mean, do we throw our hands up and say, "I'm sorry"?
No, he's Dan Crenshaw.
I mean, if I went and saw them, that would gain a lot of attention for me and do nothing.
That's
for
not
them.
what we're talking about.
That's the truth. That's the truth. If you want a performance, they can give you a performance.
You can't do anything.
I wish I had the authority to help. We do not. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you we have authorities that we don't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, why do we need you?
I'm not a dictator, sir. If you want to elect dictators, then you wouldn't live in America.
Let's
truthful answers about what our.
Yeah, so Dan Crenshaw is a part of the same Congress that Liz Cheney's a part of the same Congress that Raskin is a part of, and Benny Thompson. And although they're not in the majority, that is true. They are still Congress people. They can form subcommittees and they can go and investigate and use their power to lobby and create different groups that demand answers. They are Congress. The same demands that you see from every other congressperson that we talk about on the show. Dan Crenshaw could at least write a letter, but he's not willing to do that because he's not on their side. He's on Liz Cheney's side. He has made his true colors known, and he thinks Jesus is just like Superman. He is faster than a speeding bullet. I'll give him that. What do you think about Dan? Let us know in the comments below. My goodness, Dan Crenshaw, representative from Texas. Is he the future of the Republican Party? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I would love it if you subscribed. We have a live show. I would hope to see you there every weekday. So make sure you stick around because I look forward to seeing you on the next one.